and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Marketing Officer of Ryanair, Kenny Jacobs.
Hi, Tony.
Mr. Jacobs, great to see you as always. Thanks for coming back.
Good to see you again.
All right, let's get started. A year ago, you were telling me about always getting better. A lot of things that you have already done, everything from cabin to crew uniform. I mean, you did the aesthetics, you did some digital investment. It's been another year. So what's next on the Always Getting Better?
So year 3 of Always Getting Better, there's 12 initiatives. The ones I think are going to be the bigger, juicier, sexier ones that make a bigger difference to the top line and the bottom line. We are moving all of the travel extras and ancillaries that we sell onto our app. The app has been a great one-array success in terms of people booking flights, but getting all of those ancillaries and extras into the app so customers can book with one flick because you're signed in. We've got your credit card details. That's going to be a big earner. We're introducing a new improved version of My Ryanair, and we've launched the My Ryanair Club. So that's going to be a type of travel discount club, not a loyalty scheme. I'm very keen to point out. So there's no lounge, there's no points. You're not going to collect for a set of golf clubs at any point in time, but we will reward you for taking some specific actions, like traveling 12 times with us. And we'll do some interesting things with that. We're also introducing a new fare class called Leisure Plus. So you're going to come onto our website or in our app and you'll see Dublin to Gatwick, Ryanair Standard, Ryanair Leisure Plus, which will give you priority boarding, fast track, 20 kg
with the
bag.
Business Plus, which is a question I've got for you later.
Yeah, and then Business Plus, we're changing the Business Plus product so that it gives you increased flexibility. So I think those two new products alongside the standard fare will make a big difference. And then, as you said, it's rolling out the new uniforms, the new interiors, and pretty much just optimizing all the year 1 and year 2 initiatives that we've already launched.
So huge investment, and you were the architect of that, that whole Always Getting Better program. Did you do it with a metric in mind, like we're going to generate X amount of revenue? I mean, how do you measure the success of the program? Now, you've turned around the perception of Ryanair, and if was that part of it, or is there also a monetary goal?
The single guiding metric for all of this is load factor. So load factor is the best testament of demand and people saying, I'm going to fly Ryanair because they've got the best product, they've got the best schedule, they've got the lowest fare. So we judge it by load factor. Load factor, since we started Always Getting Better to today, has gone up over 10%. That's 20 extra people on every single Ryanair flight. Traffic as well has grown from 80 to 106 million, and this year we'll do 113 million. So they're the two numbers we'd say. Whatever about the soft qualitative perception improvements, those two key metrics show that people want to fly with us more.
All right, so you talked a little bit about it. You've done a really good job with extending the sale into a number of retail capabilities. I decided to give it a whirl the other night, and I said, all right, I'm in Stansted. I'm going to go to Pescara, region of the world where my father's from, and I saw $124 fare, and I jumped on it. And then by the time I exited, I was up to $215. I definitely wanted the seat. I definitely wanted to check a bag because I have to bring home some prosciutto. I have priority boarding that I definitely wanted to do. And then I saw this other thing that said, I can fast track to security. All good, but obviously you guys are you're doing a phenomenal job, it sounds like, with kind of, creating this whole basket of goodies, on the retail side. So talk about how you came and how you're doing that and how people are taking up.
Yeah, I think, well, the first thing I'd say, I'm shocked you saw a fare for $120. That's almost 2.5 times our average fare.
Well, it was actually, the going was 24. I must have picked a heightened day coming back because the return was inexpensive. Much more expensive.
So something big was on in Pescara. I'll take it. I think what we've, I think we and every other airline basically used to say, we sell you flights and here's a bunch of other stuff. If you want to get them, just go yourself there. I think what we're now doing is we're debundling those travel extras and those ancillaries. And for me, the whole retailing approach is just about putting the right ancillary in front of the right customer, but very importantly, at the right time. Some are designed to be purchased in the booking flow. Some are designed for once you've booked the flights and you come back in what we call active trip. And then others are designed for selling, having a higher penetration rate when you're on the move and essentially you're buying them from your mobile device. So we're debundling them and then we're putting some packages together. Leisure Plus is essentially just our standard fare with a bundle of benefits on top. Because what we've seen with Business Plus was, sure, it was a great success on Dublin, London, but we were going, wow, London, Malaga, why is that such a great success for Business Plus? And the answer was, it was affluent leisure customers saying, I just want those bundle of benefits. I'll just take Business Plus because even with those benefits at 99 euros for Business Plus, it was still much cheaper than flying with BA. So that's how we've kind of come up with the different product mix, but essentially then with the individual products, we want to sell those individually, because then you can put the right product in front of the right customer at the right time, which is the whole mantra that we have.
I'm curious, the one thing, the odd one with the 6.20 to go to the fast track. Why wasn't that 6 or 7 or 5? I mean, why was it 6.20? Is there actually a rationale as to how you price something like that?
Well, we like retail type price numbers. I think a lot of our competitors will round everything up to 20. We would say 19.99 is kind of our historic, iconic. You know, you can picture the TV ad, the
traditional
Ryanair
retailing
poster, and we just like those kind of. You know, we like to compare the price of a Ryanair flight to the price of getting a taxi, the price of buying a case of beer. More so than comparing it to the price of other airlines. So that's why we like those 99s.
All right, you mentioned the growth. You've had phenomenal growth, 106, and you were saying 113. So, you know, double-digit growth every year. You're still projecting that out. The target was 180 million people by 2024. So how do you do that? Is the approach more of the same? Just let's fly to more places, let's do better with always getting better, increase the load factor? Or do you go out and do some things differently? Because I also read recently that you're doing a deal to share customers with Aer Lingus, which I found kind of odd. So tell me about, is that part of the growth? Hey, if you're going to get to that number, I've got to do some things different?
Doing a deal with Aer Lingus and doing connections with Aer Lingus, and we'd be very surprised if people aren't connecting from a Ryanair flight to an Aer Lingus
already,
or within the next 12 months. They're doing it all the time. Informally up at Dublin Airport, but we expect it to be done more formally by the end of the year. That is glazing on the cherry on the icing on the cake, so it's not baked into those 180 million by 2024 numbers. How we get to 180 million, I think, is principally down to just keep doing what we're doing, and that's being very much focused on driving demand, having the lowest cost base, having the lowest fares. The second thing is we'll just keep expanding the network, going into more primary airports across Europe, and primary airports want to talk to Ryanair in a way that they didn't want to talk to Ryanair in the past. Now there's only one airport we don't see ourselves flying to, which is Heathrow. Every other airport in Europe is on the table.
Yep.
And the third thing is it's the aircraft fleet. You know, the aircraft. We've got a fleet of 330 today. We've got 350 joining the fleet between now and 2024. So it is really just keep doing what we're doing. It's working better than we thought. The extra fleet will give us the capacity. Then at the macro level, you know, there's lots of pretty shit airlines look pretty good at the moment because fuel is so cheap. Now, fuel we don't think is going to go above $60 for the current year. If it gets to $80, some airlines start to look them true selves again, and they don't look as good as they look today. You know, fuel will go up above $80 in the next 3 years. I think then you'll start to see some consolidation within the industry, and ultimately low cost moves from being 35% of the market in Europe to 55% of the market probably within the next 10 years. Led by Ryanair. But the main thing is just keep doing what we're doing. It's working so well.
Ever see yourself joining an alliance?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Leave it there. All right, let's talk business travel. I read a boast of 25 million business travelers after taking the actions to improve your image. You're in the GDS. Has that been the driving factor?
It's been part of it. It's not a big deal. I think there's a traditional view in the industry that if you're a low cost carrier and you want to get more of the business market, the first thing you do is go on GDS. I wouldn't say so. I think the first thing you do is how you have a differentiated product. So SMEs in Europe, small businesses have been choosing Ryanair for years because we just simply have the lowest cost base. I think the biggest thing you can do is just fly to the right places and fly at the right times. The number one reason business travelers, even large corporates, when we say, why do you fly Ryanair? They say, it's because of the cost. The second biggest reason is you're reliable. And the third biggest one is you fly more places than anyone else in Europe. So I'd say the biggest things you do as an LCC, trying to get a bigger share of the business market, is have the right schedule, fly to the right places. Times of travel, particularly in the mornings, are really important. Allow people to get from Dublin, to Amsterdam early morning and back within the same day. Have low cost. And more corporates are looking to do it themselves anyway. That whole triangulation between a corporate getting on the phone to a travel agent who's then looking at a GDS screen, that is starting to get smaller. Corporates want to do it themselves. Corporates also want to be seen to be smart with their money, and every CEO and CFO is saying, okay, good transparency. They love to be seen flying Ryanair because it looks like they're smart with shareholders' money. So I think there's a big move to corporates traveling with LCCs across Europe. Germany's probably the furthest behind as a market, but even the EU, since we last met, have changed their travel policy that if you're traveling on EU business now, you have to pick the lowest fare, and that's quite a shift. So I think it's happening anyway, but the biggest things we're doing are, it's just about the schedule, it's just about the product, and very much Business Plus. Business Plus has been a great success. In June, we're changing Business Plus to give customers 5 days window of flexibility, and I think that will further improve the penetration of Business Plus.
One of the other things corporates love is being recognized for the volume they're giving you. Do you ever see yourself sitting down with a corporation and saying, I will give you even a better rate than our normal rates because of the volume you're giving me, or try to shift share from competitor rate to Ryanair?
Absolutely, yes, between Ryanair and a corporate, not between Ryanair and a travel agent.
Got it. So travel agent stays outside the realm, but you'll be going directly to the corporates.
Yep.
All right. Do you ever, so talking about the travel agent then, they're still a vital part of it. So tell me why not? You know, because they would argue that if I'm servicing your reservation through the GDS, something goes wrong, you know, your customer ultimately calls me, I end up, you know, fixing your problem. Why not incorporate them into the mix?
Look, I'm not going to have too big a go against travel agents. I think travel agents, you know, it's a type of middleman. You know, we've created Ryanair.com. We kind of went off travel agents. We came off GDS, and we said we're going to make the brave decision 20 years ago and just have it all come direct. And people would have said that was absolutely crazy. You can't do it that way. You can do it that way. I think more and more the end consumer, whether they're traveling to Malaga for sunshine or whether they're traveling to London on business, they know more about travel themselves. People are just getting onto so many different websites and they'll know exactly what flight is going. It is no longer businessman to secretary saying, I need to go to London, get me my options. So I think the consumers become more savvy, smarter, better information out there. And I think that's kind of reduced the service that travel agents can provide. If you're going to a very complicated place and you want it all packaged up, okay, that's a different thing. But if you're doing point-to-point short-haul travel in Europe, anybody can do it. So that's why we're not going to complicate our model, and we don't want a middleman in the mix who is going to want to take a cut. So we just want to have that simple kind of relationship with the corporates themselves.
All right, last question on business travel. You recently launched a corporate jet service aimed at business travelers. This is kind of radically different from you guys. High amenities, business class seating, fine dining on board. You know, give me the background on that one.
Well, we've always been doing this informally. So you would have always had a lot of sports clubs, be they soccer teams, be they rugby teams,
chartering aircraft.
Trying to charter.
Would you actually reconfigure the aircraft, though? Because this sounds like a reconfigured job.
We've never reconfigured in the past. So if you've got 60 guys from Leinster Rugby or Munster Rugby traveling with Ryanair, they want particularly, you know, guys who are 6'10" and 140 kilos want a different type of seating arrangement. So it came because people kept asking us for it, and then we got our hands on a 700 aircraft, which we configured in this interesting way. It's going to be, you know, we've already had, since we've launched it, we've had bookings by sports clubs, by corporates, because for corporates, it's great getting 60 people on a single aircraft, and you can have meetings as you're going from London, if it's Berlin you're going to, because you'll never get 60 people on business class. You know, you'd probably have to break it into 3 groups. And we've also, you know, had wedding parties, and I expect we'll have a couple of high-profile celebrities will use it. I'd love to see Snoop Dogg getting off a Ryanair aircraft, having chartered it for one of his tours.
You might not want to on the way off. You might want to get him going on, but maybe on the way off. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. You've had a very public battle, although you've talked about a good relationship. You have a very public battle going on presently with Google and eDreams, and you've taken it to the Irish High Court. Give us a little background on that, and what's your position on it? Because you know, I think some of it comes down to we think the consumer's being deceived, and you guys have admitted that, you know, in your past, you haven't always been the most pristine when it comes to potentially being transparent to customers. So is this a little bit of the you know, the pot calling the kettle black here?
Well, I've always been pristine. It was those other evil guys.
Well, it's true. The people prior to you, right?
Okay. I think you know, for me, it's as simple as this, and I think it's an interesting one. Always when I come to events like this, Google is always the, you know, thou shalt not speak against Google, and it's almost a religion.
You should hang around for this afternoon. We have Google here keynoting.
No, I'm more than happy to talk to them at a forum or over a pint. But I think, look, for me, it's really, really simple. You go onto Google, you put in Ryanair, you're looking for Ryanair. And that's the same whether you're in Dublin, whether you're in Milan, whether you're in Berlin. And I was in Rome last week, and you'll get www.ryanair.puckfly.it. Second result is www.ryanair.edreams.it. You click on that URL, the eDreams one, you get through to a website which is, has the Ryanair aircraft, has our brand colors, is designed to look like the Ryanair website. We've done a survey in several countries across Europe, and about 80% of people who go onto that website think they're on the Ryanair website. They go and book a flight, they end up paying hidden fees, and they then say, oh, what's this? And they then complain. They either complain to the advertising standards agency in their country, they complain to us, or they complain to Google. It's just not good. And Google will give you the usual nonsense. Oh, it's the algorithm, it's the way we do it. We'll talk to the guys in Mountain View. And enough is enough, and it's bullshit. And Google need to do a better job if they want to live up to their own principles. If you come to Google and you're looking for Ryanair, give people Ryanair, and don't let people pretend they're something they're not. They're imposters. It's their business model. It's going to come to an end. The German courts have already prevented them doing it. The Advertising Standards Agency in the UK have prevented them from doing it. If I was Google, I would sort my shit out before it gets sorted out for you by other courts in Europe, because I think there's plenty of judges.
How do you really feel about this?
I think there's plenty. I think
I got him fired up.
I think there's plenty of judges in Europe would love to have a go at Google for something else, and this would be the way they do it. So I think they just need to give consumers a better product and find a better way of making money than this.
Okay, you've been maniacally focused since you've gotten to Ryanair on the customer experience. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are beyond your control. So you recently joined Alliance for Europe.
Yep.
Kind of you guys have always been an outlier, but in this particular case, you're saying some things need to change. You want to elevate the conversation relative to the infrastructure, all of the things that happen around, air travel.
Yeah.
Tell us your thinking about that and what you hope to accomplish with it, more importantly.
I think what we hope to accomplish is that the EU moves faster and moves in the direction of the consumer in Europe. This is a very regulated industry, and it has to be, but quite often it's regulating infrastructure, it's regulating airports, and everyone in the room can forget about the consumer, who's actually the person using the product. So this is us and other LCCs like EasyJet just trying to say, well, let's put the customer more at the center of this conversation. I think principally it's saying, let's keep costs down, because that's better for growth for everybody, whatever type of airline you are. It's also better for the airports. It's also, let's put things in place so we can all move faster. And very much let's take on some of the things that need to be taken on, like French air traffic controllers going on strike
very vocal
14 times a year and bringing half of the skies of Europe to a standstill, and Europe never does anything about it, and everyone comes to accept it, and we should do something about it finally. In the States, Ronald Reagan did something about it because he took away their right to strike. We should say, well, let the Irish, let the British, let the Italians run French airspace if the French don't want to run it, because with technology now you can do that, or else give them another process to vent their grievances and find a solution other than going on strike and preventing British families, Italian families from traveling. So it's just making sure that the EU, which at times can be bureaucratic, at times can be slow, is moving faster, is moving in a way that is mindful of the consumer and improving the aviation product in Europe.
How much control did you actually want? So in the States, there's talk now about the TSA process going through security is a mess, and it's a government, it's just gotten a behemoth, and the service is terrible. And they're talking about potentially privatizing, let the airlines have it back. And I think some of the airlines would say, I'd love to have it back, because then I'm in control of the customer experience from the time they get into my terminal to the time they get onto my plane. What's your take on that? Would you guys like to do that, or is it like, no, the security thing we'd like to leave to somebody else?
No, wouldn't like to get our hands on the security thing. That's best done by the federal authorities who look after it. I think customer experience is customer experience as a phrase is kind of now being exhausted. I think any airline that is saying, oh, we'd like to influence the way security procedures and the design and execution of those, I think that's crazy talk. I think at a time where we do have terrorism in the world, I think that has to be done by the people who know how to do it best.
Got it. Okay. Shift gears a little bit. Curious your take on Lufthansa's $16 charge to the industry. You don't play well. I mean, you're in the GDS today, but I'm curious your take on their positioning.
Yeah, I get it. If I was them and such a high percentage of your distribution was done indirectly, and you can't merchandise your product the way you want, you can't cross and upsell ancillaries the way you want because of that amount of the traffic. So I get why they want to do it. I think they're brave to do it at this time because Lufthansa, as you know, they're fighting their pilots, they're fighting their cabin crew, they're fighting Ryanair in their domestic market, they're fighting the Gulf guys for long haul, and they've got a lot of battles going on at the same time. So I think to stick another battle and open up another front is quite brave, but they've got the benefit, like the rest of us, on cheaper fuel. So you know, it's probably the right time for them. It's probably the right time for them to do it. So I think it'll be interesting. I get why they're doing it, and I don't think they will be the last of the legacy carriers to try to do the same.
All right, I got one last thread I want to open up with, talk a little bit about your boss. So you have said he's the perfect CEO for a straight-talking brand like Ryanair. He's straight-talking, he's brash, he's not very politically correct, but he has for the most part, developed a winning strategy. So I would argue that he might actually make a good candidate for president of the United States. Do you think he's got any aspirations?
I certainly hope so.
All right, that's good. That's great. That's a great response, because I've also heard that you guys go at it pretty regularly, and that was not that was you saying that. So you guys argue like once a week. What's a typical argument with Michael O'Leary like?
About what to do and what way to do it, they're frequent and they're heated, as they should be when you're a business our size and you're trying to change. I mean, I think Michael and Donald do have similarities. I think outspoken leaders generally quite do. Donald has a slight edge on him when it comes to the hair front, but both have a significant edge on the two of us.
There you go. All right, we're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. My good friend Kenny Jacobs. Kenny, thanks for coming out again.
Thanks.
Good job.
Cheers. Thanks.